Ford Civil's construction of the Barangaroo South Permanent Stormwater Diversion was a technically challenging project on one of Sydney's largest and most high-profile infrastructure developments.
This is a very complex project. It was made up of over 500 metres of culvert and pipe section. Some of those culverts were 2700 by 1500 in section size and up to 17 tonnes in weight. These culverts had to be installed in a high water charge ground. So the ground around Barangaroo is subject to a tidal prism. The tidal prism is up to 30 metres instantaneously from the wharf front, and it extends up to the Hixham Road. So every day, every hour of the day, Ford Civil was subject to the hydraulic pressures of the harbour.
The successful completion of this project required Ford Civil Contracting to develop innovative solutions to some major technical challenges, while ensuring the highest levels of safety and environmental management were maintained at all times. Despite working in a very difficult and potentially dangerous waterfront environment, with significant tidal movements every day, not a single day of lost time injury occurred during the 15 months of the program. From an environmental management point of view, Ford Civil Contracting had to control some significant risks to ensure that its activities did not pollute Sydney Harbour. It installed a temporary coffer dam adjacent to the harbour to allow works to safely proceed below the high tide levels, while minimising the risk of polluting the harbour with contaminated water and other materials. In addition to working in a tidal zone, the project work zone captured the runoff from the entire southwestern corner of Sydney's CBD, an area of some 18 hectares across a large ridge overlooking the site. As a result of its environmental flow management expertise, no uncontrolled discharges into the harbour occurred during the project, which included a 100mm overnight rain event.
And this came through the installation of the cofferdam, lining the excavation walls with geofabric and ensuring that all the water brought into the excavation was pumped onto an on-site treatment facility.
Other challenges facing Ford Civil Contracting during this project included managing the transition from the old stormwater system to the replacement diversion, including ensuring there were no uncontrolled discharges into the harbour, operating in very confined work areas, including adjacent to heavily trafficked roads and highly populated pedestrian areas, requiring the development of innovative solutions to safely shore and support excavations for large stormwater culverts, achieving key handover milestones despite uncovering a number of latent features, additional staging and increased scope. Most importantly, handover of the new system and removal of the temporary stormwater line within the site enabled building construction to maintain its critical path, installing culverts weighing up to 17 tonnes, under and around live high voltage electrical cables and high pressure water mains in these very confined work areas. Again, Ford Civil had to develop innovative solutions to ensure the safe placement of these culverts.
They had innovative shoring solutions. They had a terrific team that didn't take one step backwards in regard to safety. So every day they'd relook at situation, they'd change their building techniques and their construction methodologies to suit each given day as situation changed. Whether that's live services they were going under, or whether it was a high tide and they were inundated with water. Together with those challenges, what they were actually doing was they were exhuming an existing pipe which had to be maintained to flow in the case of a high weather event and installing the new one along the same alignment. Pretty difficult, you'd say, and in fact near impossible. And to do that without polluting the harbour, tremendous effort, absolutely tremendous.
In addition to these technical, environmental and safety challenges, Ford Civil Contracting carried out its works on a highly visible, high-profile site, requiring it to liaise with the local residential and business communities in order to minimise adverse impacts on those living and working nearby.
Barangaroo is a very politically sensitive project. There are many people watching what's happening, and every month we send out a community newsletter to over 3,000 community members. In November last year, we featured Ford Civil in our community newsletter and talked about some of the great work that they were doing in the community.
In order to minimise noise impacts, it developed a modular wall structure which reduced the noise levels from hydraulic rock breaker work and the like by as much as 80 decibels, as well as providing an aesthetic barrier between the worksite and surrounding public areas. Ford Civil Contracting also worked closely with client Lend-Lease and local community representatives.
Ford Civil did an exceptional job in managing a very challenging project for us here at Barangaroo. The community interface was a very, very tricky component of the job, and they put in place a number of measures that reduced the impact on the community and made the project run as smoothly as possible. Ford Civil are very community minded and are always ready to assist with any community complaints and make sure the right measures are put in place to address any issues that are raised. They're always very quick to answer any questions and very accessible in terms of giving information that we need to respond to community complaints.